Hey guys, it's Jeff from San Diego Seed Company. This video is going to start kind of differently because my family and I are in Lake Arrowhead right now and I had to shoot a transition here. Couldn't go out to the garden to do it, but hopefully you've already watched part one of our video. If you haven't, please go back and do that. There's a ton of information on getting your seeds started, up and going, into the garden. In this part, we're going to finish out the journey of cruciferous crops. Let's go take a look. Okay, so let's talk about a couple more things that we haven't yet covered. One, hopefully you guys know this by now, but let's just say you watch this video and it's February and you're like, oh, I want some broccoli. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, all of the brassicas for that matter are cool season crops. So what does that mean? In zone 9 and 10, you're going to want to start them indoors, maybe the end of August, but definitely September, October, November, December, January. It's the middle of October now. I started these at the very end of September and they're ready to go out into the garden. So if you're around the fall time, you can start your brassicas anytime around then. The other thing is days to maturity. You can always find this information on the back of your seed packs, but there is a little bit of variation even between different types of broccoli or different types of cabbage. But the rule of thumb for these three crops is anywhere from 60 to 75, maybe even 80 days. Now I will say, when it comes to days to maturity, I almost don't pay attention to them at all. There are so many factors that are going to make those days to maturity either go up or down. Did you plant them in September, October, November, or did you plant them in January, February, or March? The latter of those three get way more sunlight, so the plant's going to grow even faster than they would if they're growing through the cold, dreary days of the winter. Also, when you're taking your transplants and putting them into the garden, that does shock them a little bit, so they are going to grow a lot slower. So it's a good rule of thumb, but definitely don't harvest once you get to that date on the calendar. You're going to want to look at the crop and say, is this the size of the crop that I want? Then go ahead and harvest it. Okay, so the last thing that you're going to want to do with brassicas, this is going to take you from a novice gardener to an expert gardener, and this is row cover. Now you may have seen in some of our other videos we talk about shade cloth. This is a little bit different. There's two things that I want you to notice. It is white, which means it is going to reflect all the sunlight and keep it more cool, which is what we want for our cool season crops, especially in zone 9 and 10. You're planting them when some days it gets up into the 90s in October, which is insane, but it's just the world that we live in. The other thing is it's not knit. There's no holes for bugs and caterpillars and all kinds of things to grow on your plants. So that's the other reason that we use it, not only to keep it cool, but we keep those moths and butterflies off so they're not laying eggs on our crops, where those eggs turn into caterpillars and eat our crops. And that's not what we want. We want to eat them. We don't want to feed the butterfly population. So to use row cover, you're going to lay it over your crops, and then you're just going to find something to keep it off of the crop so they can grow up. A lot of times what I'll use is just a bucket. You've seen Bridget, she's got her hoops, which are great. Hoops are probably good because they shade the plants a little less than these black buckets. But when it comes to gardening, you guys know this, you just use what you have. So I am probably going to get a different piece of row cover, but for the sake of the video, you get the idea. You just want to cover it so it's going to keep your plants cool and keep bugs off of them. So when it comes to row cover, it's up to you how long you keep them on there. What I look for is, when do I think the plant is big enough to withstand little caterpillars nipping at its leaves? If I were to just leave these uncovered and caterpillars hatched and got on there, it would decimate the plants. But let's say 2 weeks from now, they might be big enough. So that's a thing that you're going to have to decide for yourself. Trial and error is king here. Okay, so let's wrap up this video talking about pests. I mentioned it with the row cover, but one thing you definitely want to look out for are leaf-eating caterpillars, and those are the babies of the white and yellow moths that you see flying around your garden, which make it feel beautiful and fun and like you're in a musical or something, but then those caterpillars come out and you're going to want to choke them. So one way to choke them, I should say, is a product called BT. Now this is a naturally occurring organic product. Bridget uses it in her farm, which is certified organic, so it's completely safe, but it is going to kill those caterpillars so they don't eat your plants. The other thing, like I mentioned, is the row cover. To hopefully stop them from even laying eggs on your plants, that row cover is going to do a really good job. The other thing are slugs and snails. Now these really don't happen until the cooler months of the year, and you'll come out here early in the morning, there's dew everywhere, and you'll see little holes on your leaves. You're like, what the heck? pull the leaves back, look deep in there, and you'll see the snails. Just pick them off. The other thing you can do when you're actually planting out to kill the population of roly-polies, slugs, and snails is to use a product called Sluggo Plus, and we have tons of videos. If you're curious on how to apply that, check those out as well. Okay, you guys will not believe this. Look, I literally just planted these. Look what's happening. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try to point the camera at it. That is exactly what you don't want to happen. He's probably laying, get off of there. He probably just laid eggs right onto my plants, so I'm definitely gonna wanna have the BT ready whenever I see those guys grow up and start mowing down on my broccoli. Oh, what's up? I think so. Oh, I don't know actually. Whew. As soon as I planted the broccoli, a moth started to fly around to lay eggs on it. Okay, let me finish this. I just didn't want to ignore you. Okay, so there you have it. Let's do a quick review on broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower, how to plant, grow, and then eventually hopefully eat them. They are cool season crops, so you're gonna wanna start them indoors in maybe August, but definitely September, October. Plant them out in October, November, December. January maybe, but as we said, days to maturity are 60 to 75 days. So you're really gonna wanna know your garden well. What month are you gonna put your tomatoes or your spring crops out? You don't wanna fill your garden too late with cool season crops. And also, even though the sun is brighter and there's more hours of sunlight and the plants will grow a lot better, you're also going to start dealing with spring bugs. So it's really kind of a balance as with everything in the garden, but I recommend definitely planting them all the way through January. If you're ever at a loss of when to plant something, definitely check the back of the seed pack, but also our planting calendar or our website has tons of information there. So how do you plant them? You plant them at the soil level. You don't want to bury the stem at all. You don't want the stem sticking out of the ground. Match the soil level 2 feet apart, and you're really going to want to water them in. Make sure you have well-draining soil with organic matter in it, and definitely put them on some sort of irrigation because they're going to be heavy feeders, heavy drinkers, and not only does the plant need water, but the soil needs water so it can break down those nutrients that are going to feed your plant. Now, for those astute viewers who watched the beginning of the video, I did say that one of the crops was a little bit different when it came to harvesting, and that is broccoli. With cauliflower and cabbage, you're going to get one crop, 1 head of cauliflower, 1 head of cabbage. With broccoli, if we're talking about heading broccoli, which we are with the Waltham 29 and the Steve's Tender Early Green, you're going to get 1 huge head, but do not rip the plant out after you harvest that head because you're going to get side shoots all throughout the rest of the early spring. And last but not least, those of you who want to enter the contest to win 1 seed of each type of these crops, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment, and then subscribe to our newsletter because that is how we are going to let you know if you won or not.